Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of KSP Resurgence. This episode we're going to be preparing for our next interstellar voyage. So our previous mission to the Chaos system, my interstellar vehicle Excalibur ended up expending almost all of its fuel. As a result, I need to be able to have a way to refuel it. So instead of refueling it with a bunch of tankers, I'm actually going to give it the ability to scoop gases out of atmospheres. Well, not really atmospheres, more like exospheres, because if I tried dipping Excalibur into an atmosphere, it probably wouldn't end very well. So what I did is I constructed this single-stage to orbit a heavy lifter powered by a fusion-powered aerospike. I'm actually going to be attaching some exoscoops to Excalibur, allowing it to harvest some gases, even while interstellar. So if it's in another star system, it'll be able to go to one of that star system's planets and actually absorb hydrogen from it, among other resources, which is going to be really useful for the reusability of Excalibur. Now, this weird doohickey I made, I planned for it to be completely reusable, but unfortunately it didn't really work out. We'll see more of that failure later, but it does have a whole lot of potential for use because it's high efficiency, high thrust, and it works really well in low Sanctar orbit in a stock scale system, but it probably can reach orbit even with a decent rescale. Yeah, those radiators, I did have to tweak scale them because they weren't supported for the diameter I wanted to use. Thankfully, rescaling them also lets them cool the massive heat draw of the aerospike, because that fusion aerospike generates a whole lot of waste heat that needs a whole lot of radiators to be cooled. Which is why the fission aerospike might be better in most scenarios. Now this is a weird setup I created. Instead of using a docking port, I feel like that'd be somewhat inconvenient. So I used this weird docking tube, which kind of acts like a docking arm that you use to attach to asteroids in the stock game, except it's a bit more useful for space stations. We're currently on the dark side of Sanctar, so docking is a lot harder. And since I'm not using a docking port, instead I'm opting for a weird docking arm, I can't use a long, lazy method of docking. Even if I could, it'd take ages for Excalibur to turn, because I did not pack enough reaction wheels on that. I do end up bumping up the ambient light just so I can actually see things. And with a whole lot of weird maneuvers, we actually end up docking successfully. And it goes pretty well. I've never actually used this docking tube part, so I'm really happy with how it went. Now I can just use TAC fuel balancer to empty the lithium and put it onto Excalibur. Now that's not the only purpose of this mission. We also have to dock this weird exoscoop contraption I created, which will basically allow us to scoop the atmospheres of, well, not the atmospheres, actually the exospheres of certain places like gas giants to harvest stuff like deuterium, hydrogen, primarily hydrogen. The scoops are from the mod Impulse Party, if you're wondering. And we only got a couple minutes of daylight before being occluded by Alia, Sanctar's binary partner in orbit. We do end up being in the dark again, which is mildly infuriating, considering docking is way easier in the daylight. But thankfully this mission's complete, so the only thing left to do is to return this reusable spacecraft to the ground. Now, I wanted this to be reusable, but this landing didn't go so well. I probably should have at least done some testing before I actually tried using this, but to be honest, this isn't a career save. I have no punishments for botching this mission. I think I have to load a quick save because it didn't work, and these grip things, I should have placed them a bit higher because it's a little bit unstable. And these grip things also do not like Firefly because they lag my game out a ton. And fortunately we do end up going nose first. I do try using the parachutes, but we just don't slow down enough, and we end up crashing, barely saving the center part, and also the engine itself, which is the most expensive part. Now this next launch is actually going to add a laboratory to Excalibur. I was going to do that when I originally constructed it, but I felt like adding a laboratory would be borderline cheating because those things make so much science, and for an interstellar grand tour I felt like that'd be somewhat cheating. But looking back, I probably should have done it because all the tech nodes with blue shift installed, which gives me warp drives, they're so expensive. Like, I need 20,000 science to unlock the most advanced warp drives, which is absolutely ridiculous. So for this reason, I am adding a laboratory facility. I do believe I'm actually adding 2 of them, just because I want to have the extra science capacity and research speed. It's probably not the safest option because there is no launch abort system for this, but it's Kerbal's space program. I can do the jankiest rocket and not be punished for killing all of my Kerbals and destroying the Kerbal Space Center in the process. I mean, I probably would get like a slap on my wrist in career mode, having to pay for the reconstruction of everything, but I mean, it's still Kerbal Space Program, anything's possible. I did cut out most of the rendezvous just because it's boring, it's repetitive. I've done this multiple times before. Besides, I do want to get into the more interesting parts of the episode because I've been releasing longer videos lately, so I have more time for more content. And I actually will be doing my first interstellar landing of this mission in this episode. Excalibur is going to the nearby Hades system, which is a brown dwarf added by Cosmic Serenity. I should also probably be talking about this space plane that's on screen right now. Let's say it was a really beautiful sunrise at the Kerbal Space Center. Perfect time to take screenshots and launch this space plane. And goof around with my action groups in the middle of the mission. Now once again I will be using the Helion SSTO for all of my missions in atmospheric bodies, just because this spaceplane with its high efficiency engines and almost unlimited delta V in atmosphere, it's the best atmospheric SSTO I've ever constructed so far. There will be more variants of this spaceplane coming in the future, but I might as well not spoil the future of this series. By the way, I should probably mention that this series is actually coming to a close somewhat soon. After the Hades Grand Tour, I'll do one final mission to the Anubis system, which is another system added by Cosmic Serenity, and then I'm actually going to end this series. However, that won't be the end of the save file, because Cosmic Serenity and Celestial Harmony, the 2 mods I'm using, are still getting updated. So when those do get updated, I will make another series, which is a continuation of Resurgence, this series. And it's going to continue right where we left off. I feel like splitting it into 2 series would be a pretty cool option, because I've seen other YouTubers do that, and I kind of liked it, to be honest. I did start burning a little late, so we didn't do the best approach, but thankfully we have lots of fuel to spare. I feel like docking a spaceplane is a lot more interesting than docking a normal capsule, because with a spaceplane you kind of have to change your control from part. So instead of controlling from the nose cone, you have to control from the docking port, which kind of makes it interesting. You kind of have to balance your center of mass with your RCS ports. It's a lot harder to be able to dock a spaceplane or design a spaceplane that can dock effectively, but I'm really proud with a Helion. It's probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, spaceplane I've ever made. But I'm also proud of that space shuttle I made a long time ago, the Destiny, which I was actually also part of this series. Now at this point, we've gotten everything we need to do to perform another mission, except for fuel. So we're gonna need to find another gas giant or so to actually harvest fuel from. I actually used cheeks to cheat spacecraft in orbit of all the planets I could have harvested from, and it turns out all the planets in this game, in this planet pack, are actually garbage when it comes to harvesting hydrogen. At least in this version. This was before I got the updated community resource packs. Except for Aglarka. Aglarka is a Hycean planet that I actually visited to a few episodes ago. It's actually one of my favorite planets in the entire planet pack. Thankfully, it gives a whole lot of liquid hydrogen, and I can actually get full tanks really quickly. I did leave Excalibur with quite a bit of fuel, so quick transfer is definitely possible, though not one of interstellar proportions. At least one that would take a decent amount of time. Of course, a mid-course correction burn would be required to actually rendezvous with the Glurka, just because burning straight towards the target isn't accurate most of the time, unless you're going really, really fast. I'm really not a big fan of the stock maneuver tool, especially in terms of interstellar travel, because it is just not built for tens of thousands of kilometers per second burns. So most of the time when you go interstellar or do one of these extremely quick transfers, you kind of have to just eyeball it and form a jank mid-course correction burn. Now, I could probably land the Helion SST on a Glurka, but I'm not going to do that just because I had no reason to. But the Helion SSTO can definitely do that because it can land on practically any atmospheric body as long as the atmosphere is thick enough to actually land. After a rather long transfer, well, probably not too big in the big scheme of things, we actually ended up flying really pretty far from a Glurka, so I did have to do a little burn to lower our periapsis. But thankfully, everything went well aside from that minor issue. Now, Glurka has to be one of my favorite planets in the Celestial Harmony planet pack for many reasons. Mostly because it's blue, has a really thick atmosphere, which provides a unique challenge. It's also one of the best looking places to visit, I must say. Now, I was gonna do some more maneuvers, but unfortunately is at this point, my screen recorder had an aneurysm and decided to just stop recording. By the way, that glitch effect was completely intentional. I just decided to add that just to add a bit more detail. Now, unfortunately, that you missed that recording failed and skipped out on all the fuel harvesting, so we couldn't see any of that going on. But thankfully, I will be doing more of that later in the series when I arrive at the Hades system. Now, I will be cutting most of this interstellar transfer out because interstellar transfers on Kerbal Space Program are incredibly buggy, and I'm the victim of this one really nasty visual glitch, which causes the entire spacecraft to flash white and black multiple times, and it's just the ugliest visual glitch. So I always just try my best to cut it out. Thankfully, Hades, even when just orbiting it directly, didn't have that issue, unlike the Chaos system, so that was a really fortunate occurrence. The Hades system is a brown dwarf, but I don't think that name is exactly accurate. Now, brown dwarfs are basically failed stars that are more of a hybrid between gas giants and stars. They're just too small to sustain fusion, or at least sustain fusion in a decent amount to create a decent amount of heat. Now, despite this, Hades actually caused my spacecraft to actually have a few thermal issues. You saw the all the warning bars on the radiators show up. Thankfully, even if I go closer, it doesn't seem to explode. I was really worried about this and to decide which place I should visit first. Thankfully, nothing exploded, and I didn't have to use the cheat I used for my Daystar mission to ignore max temperature. Now, Hades, I don't think it's good to call it a brown dwarf. It's more like a pink dwarf. Because Hades is not brown at all, it's super pink. And might be the pinkest body in all of Kerbal Space Program mods. For this reason, everything in its orbit is also pink. Like, all the planets have a pinkish hue to them. So everything kind of looks the same, but they're all unique in their own ways. Because despite being almost nearly the same color, every planet around Hades is very different. This first one I'm visiting is called Folie. It's kind of like a comet. It has its own tail, like a comet tail, where it's since it's so close to its parent star, it's actually being disintegrated while it's orbiting. Unfortunately, I was using an old version of Cosmic Serenity, so that tail is not visible, which is really a massive shame. But what is visible is the aurora on its very thin atmosphere. I actually tried landing the Helion SSTO because it did have an atmosphere, but it was just way too thin to actually let it fly, so I did end up crashing and had to load a quick save. So I'll be using my vacuum moon for this, my vacuum lander, to land on this vacuum planet. Now, I do want to try to make some kind of colony, so I will be taking survey scans of all of these planets and moons. Now, every scan I did gave me the same amount of resources, and there were none of them I was looking for. They're all like useless resources and like some other supply chain mods I wasn't using. But it turns out, since I'm using an older version of this mod, the community resource configs are a little bit bugged. Now, thankfully, after updating, these issues were amended and the resource distributions were actually fixed. So I will consider making a colony on one of these planets in one of my future series. Even on the dark side of Folie, its aurora are still very visible because this close to Hades, you probably get bombarded by a whole lot of radiation. Don't worry about the Kerbals. I'm sure they're just fine. Now, there aren't really any exospheric resources around Folie, at least with these bugged community resource configs in the older version. But, I'm not planning on using this place to harvest any gases. I'm probably going to be using the ice giant further out in orbit. You know, one thing I don't like about these longer videos is that I have to do longer voiceovers, which is pretty inconvenient considering, especially when you make longer videos, voiceover psychosis starts to take effect and you have no idea what to talk about, and as a result, you kind of start talking about some really weird things. Thankfully, this is a whole new star system, so might as well be talking about this new destination I'm about to land on. Now, Folie's aurora colors are actually kind of pinkish, which I think kind of reflects the contents of its atmosphere. Not really sure how auroras actually work. I think it kind of works something similar to plasma colors with Firefly. Different gases in the atmosphere mean different colors. So I think it might be something along the lines of that. Now, Folie here is a very thin atmosphere, too thin to do any flight. I previously said that I tried landing Helion on it, but it just generated no lift, so it didn't fly, it just fell. Well, it did fall with a good amount of style, but it's still crashing. I did have to use the vacuum lander, which thankfully has more than enough Delta V to actually perform these missions. Thankfully, there isn't any high gravity worlds in the Hades system, so I won't have to push this lander to its absolute limit. Though there are some other high gravity worlds and some other star systems in Cosmic Serenity, so I'm gonna opt to design a specialized lander because Neith in the Anubis system, which is another planet in Cosmic Serenity, has 2 Gs of gravity. So even with these extremely powerful plasma engines, this will not be able to land on there. Now, despite a really scuffed landing and almost destroying the engines, I actually did successfully land in one piece. Now, Folie might have a thin atmosphere, but still somewhat massive. I do believe it has like 0.5 Gs of gravity, so an EVA jetpack won't be very effective here. Folie seems to have some exotic crystals and exotic minerals sticking out of the ground, which which is pretty unique considering it is kind of a comet. Similar to Aurora from the Kerbal system, which has a way thicker atmosphere. I definitely can't fly the Helion there. Though it's been a while since I've played Kerbal. Might want to do it in one of my future series. I did think about doing it in Resurgence, or at least a sequel to Resurgence. But since Cosmic Serenity is supposed to get an update in this May, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm probably going to save Kerbal for another series. I really can't wait to play Kerbal again, just because it's probably one of the best mods out there. Now, Folie, Hades may be a brown dwarf and relatively cold compared to other stars, but Folie is still very hot. In fact, all my Kerbals started overheating, so it's time to rush back in the lander and return to safety. Now, Hades is very small. In fact, everything within Hades actually fits within the orbit of Daysar, when compared to Harmonia, which is more of a normal-sized star. Now, Hades really looks beautiful up close, considering it does have the cool patterns of a gas giant, yet the radiance of a star. That's kind of what I like about brown dwarfs. You kind of get the best of both worlds in terms of stars. I mean, they're probably definitely not habitable because I'm sure they're spewing out lots of deadly cosmic radiation. Or that might not necessarily be true because one of the other planets in the Hades system, Iris, has life on it. So even in the weirdest of situations and weirdest and most hostile places, life still finds a way, apparently. Or at least it does in Kerbal Space Program, where it can put life anywhere, even like in the middle of interstellar space. Ascending is very easy. It is somewhat kind of atmospheric because Folie's thin atmosphere actually does influence the aerodynamics of this craft somewhat, but it's mostly insignificant, so I can still use these engines. These plasma engines are actually significantly nerfed by any atmosphere, so it's a miracle that they still work. I mean, I do believe Folie is like 0.1 atmospheres, so it really is, it's barely anything. I really love the way the Hades system looks. I feel like it's one of the better looking solar systems in Kerbal Space Program. I've noticed that every single location in the Hades system has something very special about it. While Folie has that cool comet trail, which unfortunately isn't visible in this video. Every other location has something really interesting. Now, I'm not going to spoil the entirety of this whole grand tour, but be on the lookout for some very interesting locations in the upcoming episodes. And once again, this episode will be ending with a rendezvous of Excalibur, just like every other episode back in my Chaos System Grand Tour. I want to kind of shake things up in future episodes, but right now, I just want to keep things the way they are. Now, unfortunately, we don't really have any monopropellant or hydrogen on this lander, so we can't use the RCS thrusters, which is really inconvenient. I should have done a refueling mission with those. But alas, I forgot, and now we don't have any form of monopropellant, except on the Helion, which I have to be very careful with my RCS, because I'll probably end up burning that all up. I could have done somewhat of a refueling mission with my scoop setup, just because I did put some RCS thrusters on those, but I make those use pentaborane instead of hydrogen, which doesn't work, only works with the bipropellant RCS, not monopropellant RCS. Now with that, we have our very first landing of this entire Grand Tour done. Now it's time to transfer all the science into the lab and look forward to all the future missions we have to do with this Grand Tour. Now unfortunately, that will be the end of this episode. I look forward to completing the rest of this grand tour, and I hope to see you all in the next episode.